Football has always been a game of wonder, a sport where greatness can surface from anywhere, at any age, and completely rewrite what we think is possible. Some players spend a lifetime climbing youth systems, waiting for opportunity to knock. And then there are the outliers, the prodigies, the kids who step onto stages built for grown men long before the world believes they belong there. We've seen moments like this before, moments like Freddie Adu, who turned professional at just age 14 years old, becoming one of the most talked about talents the game had ever seen. Hyped as the future of American football, Adu didn't just draw headlines. He earned the endorsement of Pelé himself, who publicly praised his talent and vision, a seal of approval few players of any age ever received. It was proof that youth, when paired with the rare ability, could break every rule. So today, we're stepping into the world of football's youngest trailblazers, players who made professional debuts before most of us had just finished long division. These journeys aren't just about records, they're about pressure, expectation, and what it really means to grow up inside the game. Welcome back to Football Central. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell. And now, let's dive into the extraordinary stories of football's greatest young professionals. Let's go. Football's greatest youngsters. Maurizio Baldivieso. Maurizio Baldivieso's debut remains one of football's most unbelievable stories. In July 2009, Maurizio stepped onto the pitch for Aurora in Bolivia's top flight at just 12 years old, instantly becoming a global headline. The twist, of course, Julio Cesar Baldivieso was the club's manager, a decision that split opinion everywhere. Was it genuine belief in his son's potential? Was it emotional impulse? Or was it simply a father just giving his child a moment the football world would never forget? Regardless of the debate, Maurizio's cameo symbolized the complicated relationship between opportunity and responsibility. Many question whether a child should be anywhere near a professional match, especially in a physical league like Bolivia's. But when the dust settled, what remained was a compelling reminder of how early doors can sometimes open. Maurizio didn't go on to become a global superstar, but he built a respectable career across several Bolivian clubs, proving he wasn't merely a novelty act. His story stands today as a lesson about the realities that follow early breakthroughs, the idea that a record might open the door, but long-term development is what shapes the journey that follows. Devian Kimbrough. Devian Kimbrough represents a new type of football prodigy, one shaped not by spontaneous decision-making, but by structured planning, professional backing, and a modern approach to youth development. When he made his professional debut for Sacramento Republic at 13 years and 7 months, it wasn't a publicity stunt or a shock decision. It was a culmination of years of careful preparation inside a system built to protect and nurture young talent. Kimbrough had already signed a professional contract with the club months prior, becoming one of the youngest professional athletes in American sports history. His physical strength, explosive acceleration, and advanced finishing ability stood out long before he entered the senior environment. Coaches praised not on just his talent, but his maturity, a quality rare even in much older academy players. His first senior appearance was brief, but symbolic. Sacramento didn't throw him in to chase a headline. They were signaling their belief in his long-term future. Kimbrough represents the evolution of American youth development, calculated progression, scientific monitoring, and curated opportunity rather than hype-driven exposure. Still only in the early chapters of his career, he feels like a name that may grow alongside the MLS itself, a potential trailblazer for the next generation of American stars. Axel Kai. Axel Kai's rise was as dramatic as it was rapid. The kind of story that sweeps through the football world and has everyone scrambling to learn more. Born in Ivory Coast, raised partly in Brazil and developed in the United States, Kai's early journey was a blend of cultures, environments, and influences that shaped him into one of the most exciting young prospects in MLL history. At 13 years and 9 months, he made his debut for Real Monarchs, instantly becoming the youngest professional player in American football at the time. His powerful physique, strong link-up play, and fearless attacking style made him stand out at every youth level. It wasn't long before Real Salt Lake moved in to secure his future, signing him to a professional contract at just 14 years old, breaking yet another record and placing enormous expectation on his shoulders. But football's path is rarely linear. By mid-2025, Kai was waived by Real Salt Lake, a surprising turn for a player once touted as a generational prospect. Yet this twist doesn't read as failure, it's a reminder of how demanding the transition from youth football to senior football can be, especially under intense public scrutiny. Kai is still incredibly young, still developing, still discovering his best. His story isn't over, it's simply entering into its next chapter. Lucas Connect. Lucas Connect's career might not have unfolded under bright European lights, but his story remains one of the most unique on this list. At just 14 years old, he made his international debut for Northern Mariana Islands, a tiny footballing nation competing far from mainstream attention. His appearance wasn't born from hype or desperation. It reflected the realities of football in smaller nations, where pathways are open earlier and the distance between youth football and senior football is far shorter. Connect's early debut highlights something often overlooked. Football's global system is vast. Not every football prodigy emerges from a top-tier academy or powerhouse footballing country. In places like Northern Mariana Islands, the sport grows through community, opportunity, and necessity. Connect stepped into senior football because he was ready relative to his environment, not because he was thrust into the deep end recklessly. Though he hasn't moved into the European scene or broken into major leagues, Lucas has become a symbol of representation, proving that football's magic exists everywhere, even in the game's most remote corners. His career serves as a reminder that not all success stories are measured in trophies or global headlines. Sometimes simply breaking a barrier becomes its own form of legacy. Ang Kiao Tan. Ang Kiao Tan's story sits in the rare realm of football achievement that seems almost unreal when read back years later. At 14 years old, he made his senior international debut for Myanmar during an Asian Cup qualifying match. Not a friendly, not an exhibition, but a competitive fixture with genuine stakes. It is one of the youngest competitive international debuts in the entire history of the sport. His early rise reflected Myanmar's football landscape at the time, a system willing to accelerate talented youth far quicker than most nations would ever consider. Some saw it as bold, others saw it as risky, but either way, Ang Kiao Tan instantly secured a place in football's global trivia books. While he didn't go on to be a superstar or make the leap into major Asian or European leagues, his debut remains iconic in Southeast Asian football history. It showcases how different the definition of opportunity can be depending on the country, infrastructure, and broader sporting culture. Kiao Tan's legacy isn't built on silverware or famous transfers. Instead, it's shaped by that extraordinary, almost unbelievable moment. A teenager stepping into senior international battle, etching his name permanently into football's record books. Cavan Sullivan. Cavan Sullivan is widely regarded as one of the brightest American prospects of his generation, and his professional debut only strengthened that belief. At 14 years and 5 months, he stepped into the pitch for Philadelphia Union 2, instantly showcasing a maturity and technical polish far beyond his years. From his first touches, it was clear he wasn't simply making up the numbers. He was influencing the game. Sullivan's style is built on exceptional vision, tight control, and intelligence that stands out even amongst older academy players. Coaches praise his composure, his decision making, and his ability to dictate the tempo, rare traits for a player so young. His pathway has been carefully curated by the union's development system, which has become one of the best in the MLS for producing top-level talent. His debut wasn't about breaking headlines, it was about confirming what the scouts already knew. Sullivan projects as a player capable of reaching Europe's elite level academies and eventually breaking into top-flight football. Still early in his journey, he carries the promise of being a genuine long-term star. If nurtured properly, Sullivan could become one of American football's biggest success stories, a player whose debut was just the opening act for a much larger story. Gaurav Mukhi. Gaurav Mukhi's story is unlike any other on this list, a blend of talent, opportunity, controversy, and redemption that made him one of the most talked about figures in Indian football. Born in the narrow lanes of Harijan Basti in Jamshedpur, Muki grew up with little formal structure but plenty of street home flair. His father Chotalal Muki, a former amateur footballer, passed on his love for the game early, giving young Gaurav a pathway out of a challenging environment. But controversy struck early. Muki and several Jharkhand teammates were suspended for using forged birth documents, an issue that hinted at deeper structural problems in Indian youth football. Still, Muki rebuilt through local football and eventually earned a place at Jamshedpur FC Academy before breaking into the senior team. His breakout moment came in the 2018-19 ISL season against Bengaluru FC, where he scored and earned the Emerging Player Award. Headlines exploded. India's youngest ever goalscorer at 16. But the truth emerged. He was 21, not 16. The AIFF suspended him, and the case became a national scandal that highlighted the widespread issue of age fraud. Muki eventually returned to professional football, fighting to rebuild his career once again. His journey remains one of India's most dramatic and fascinating chapters. Eric Godpower Marshall. Eric Godpower Marshall's story sits on the extreme end of football's youth spectrum, a moment that stunned fans around the world. At 10 years and 11 months old, Marshall stepped onto a senior pitch in Liberia's 4th division, becoming arguably the youngest professional footballer ever recorded. His appearance was short, but his impact was enormous. The football world suddenly turned its eyes to a child playing amongst adults. The debate exploded instantly. How young is too young? What responsibility do clubs and federations hold when handling prodigious talent? Physically, emotionally, and mentally, the gap between 10 years old and senior football is extraordinary. Yet Marshall's debut highlighted the unique conditions in certain footballing regions, where youth pathways aren't as clearly separated from senior structures. Since then, Marshall has stayed grounded within local football, continuing his development quietly away from the international spotlight. Whether he becomes a major star or not remains to be seen, but his place in football history has already been cemented. His story serves as a reminder that the push for records can clash with the realities of childhood. Marshall's debut wasn't just a milestone, it was a global talking point about the balance between opportunity and protection in football. Now let's shift our focus to another African nation, Togo, and embark on one of the most fascinating examples of early talent meeting structural limitation. Meet Suleiman Maman. He made his senior international debut for Togo in 2001 at just age 13 years and 10 months. Look, I don't even know what to say, as if playing at 10 years old wasn't bad enough. Suleiman Maman was born in Lomé, Togo on the 30th of June 1987. He is a Togolese former professional footballer who played as an attacking midfielder or a winger. He is recognised by FIFA as the youngest player to play a senior international football match for Togo in 2001. His composed performance suggested a player far mature beyond his years, and soon he caught the attention of one of the biggest clubs in the world, Manchester United. But sometimes football careers are shaped less by ability than by paperwork. Due to UK permit regulations, Maman was unable to play in England and instead spent the next 4 years on loan at Royal Antwerp in Belgium. It was there that he gained consistent senior minutes, developing into a disciplined, defensive-minded player while waiting unsuccessfully for eligibility that never came. By the end of the 2006-07 season, Manchester United chose not to renew his contract, bringing a quiet close to a chapter many expected to unfold very differently. As a free agent, Maman signed permanently for Royal Antwerp, seeking stability at last. Yet uncertainty followed. Trials at Motherwell and Birmingham City went well, yet again blocked by work permit complications rather than shortcomings on the pitch. He later tested himself in new environments, including a trial with Toronto FC in the MLS before joining KRC Mechelen in Belgium's 3rd division for the 2009-10 season. In a final twist, Maman returned to Manchester United on trial in 2011, featuring for the reserves and even finding the net. Yet still, no contract followed. His career would continue elsewhere, including a spell with Nejmeh SC, but his story stands as a reminder that talent alone is sometimes not enough. In football, the margins aren't always measured by goals. Sometimes they're measured in signatures and stamps. You've just been taken on the journey meeting the youngest players of all time to sign professional contracts or to play professional football. You have Eric Godpower Marshall breaking world records to become the youngest professional player at nearly 11 years old, and Gaurav Mukhi, who broke the Indian League's record to be the youngest player to score a goal at 16, for us all to learn that he was in fact in his 20s. But for me, my choice goes to Cavan Sullivan. He became the youngest player in MLS history at 14 years and 296 days, breaking the record of America's most famed wonder kid Freddie Adu, who held the record at 14 years and 306 days. The young lad is in high demand and has been linked with Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich, Paris Saint-Germain and Real Madrid. However, it's Manchester City that seems to be leading the race for his signature. Internationally, he represents the USA at all age groups, but also holds a German passport, so his international options are quite limitless. Who knows what the future will really hold for this youngster, but at this present moment in time, the future looks bright, the future looks sky blue. These young footballers, these young Gs, remind us that football doesn't always wait for adulthood. Sometimes we're thrust into the spotlight by circumstance, others by extraordinary talent, and a few by systems that are willing to take monumental risks. Some careers take off, others plateaued, all of them left a mark on football's history. They show us that prodigies are not guarantees of greatness, and early debuts are not passports to stardom. What matters most is what comes after, the nurturing, the environment, the guidance, and the patience to let young players grow at the pace their lives, not their headlines, demand. So as we look towards the future, the question remains, did you enjoy this journey through football's youngest history makers? If so, make sure to like and subscribe and click the bell. And let us know in the comments which young G will become football's next global superstar. We're done. It's time to go now. Thank you for watching and see you next time on Football Central.